North Idaho has more retired police officers per capita than anywhere else in the United States. Welcome to Copland. Hey guys, our team at Your North Idaho Agent, we have over 26 years combined in law enforcement, 15 years in the fire service, and 21 years in the military. We know public service, we speak your language, and we will have your back. Hey, be sure to subscribe to the channel, tap that notification bell so you can stay up to date on all of our latest content. And if our values align, if we're jiving with you guys and our message that we're putting out there, we would love to help you in any real estate transactions, whether you're moving to North Idaho or you already live here. We would love to have your back for that. And we don't solely work with first responders, but we will take that same level of integrity and service, and we'll spread that to everyone else. We've been serving the public for a long time combined, and it's something that we love to do. We love to build community. So if you guys are looking to move right now or 12 months from now, give us a call, text, or email. We would love to help you make that smooth move right here in North Idaho. All right, guys, let's jump right in. Did you know that the average police officer dies within 5 years of retirement? I have seen it personally with friends of mine, and reportedly, the life expectancy is 12 years less than that of other people if you've worked a career in public safety in general. The reason I'm saying that, a lot of people that retire from out of state and move here to North Idaho from public safety, they're coming here for the same reason generally. Well, a couple of reasons. One, they're running away from politics. That's a big one. Two, they're looking for a better way of life for their families and a place where they can find peace and comfort after that long career dealing with, let's be honest, the lower end of society for the most part. It wears on your soul. It wears on your body. So a lot of guys and gals come here to heal. That's a common thing we hear when they're moving up here. Like, hey, I just want to get away. I want to get 5 acres and I want to go live in the woods and have quiet. Now, you can look at that two ways. I think that you do need to have a sense of community when you're up here. We do a lot of community events with our real estate team where we can help tie you into a community of like-minded individuals, often people that come from that same background. So there's a lot of power in that. I think it's pretty important. Hey, if that's not your thing though, we're happy to help you find 5 acres in the woods where you can be by yourself. That's cool too. Whatever floats your boat. This area has been referred to as LAPD North for a long time. LAPD officers started coming up here in the 70s in droves, and that trend has continued, obviously outside of just LAPD, right? I'm CHP. It was Dave, our partner, was San Bernardino County Fire. He was a captain down there for a long time and then got into law enforcement up here. So we understand that world, we come from it, and we're happy to help you guys get up here. There are a ton of retiree groups when you get up here. And some guys come up and they're like, nah, I don't want to do that. I just want to leave it all behind. Forget about it. And then a few months later, you know, they're like, yeah, I wouldn't mind grabbing coffee and shooting the shit with some people from that world. So the community is up here. There are multiple groups. We're happy to help you tie into them. And for example, we have the Owls, Officers Without Legal Standing. That is a group from, I think they're originally California based. They're up here, obviously, but most of them tend to come from California, retired public safety. We also have the CHP retirees group. So that is a large group as well, 30 to 40 members up here of all retired CHP officers. Golden Bear Refugees, that's another one. And I just ran into a group at our monthly coffee meetup, which is every Wednesday from 8 to 10 at Life Public House in downtown Coeur d'Alene. Free coffee for veterans in public safety. Happy to help sponsor that. I just ran into a group from Seattle PD, and there's apparently 30 to 40 of them here that get together for breakfast routinely as well. So that community is here more than anywhere else I've ever seen in the US, and I've lived in 8 different states. So I've been around a bit. Surprisingly, with all those cops up here, there are not a lot of donut shops. A pro tip, if you're looking to start a business in retirement, a donut shop in Coeur d'Alene would probably be a big hit. 2 of them shut down last year. I don't think because they weren't busy. One got bulldozed and turned into a coffee shop. The other one became a soup and bread business. I don't know. But if you want donuts, you're going to have to, like real donuts, like made in the shop donuts, not Safeway donuts, you're going to have to go to Hayden or Post Falls. That's your options. All right. let's jump into some of the reasons that so many retired cops moved to North Idaho. And there are quite a few. I'm going to just run down the list here for you and kind of drop that information so you can mull it over in your brain. Low crime rates. So Idaho is known for its relatively low crime rates. And if you watch any of my vlogs, VLOG, it's like a video blog of any of the towns up here, I do talk about crime statistics a lot. And in general, they are much lower than everywhere else in the US, particularly if you're coming from states like California, Washington, Oregon, things like that. All layers of crime. We're talking property crimes, violent crime, homicide. It is all lower in general, and that's per capita. So it's not necessarily a function of just having a smaller population, because Idaho does have a much smaller population than most states. It's not just a function of that. It is a function of small town values are still here. It's easy to see when you get out in the community and you start to meet people. People move here for that reason, for those values. They want to raise their families. You know, if they have a young family, they want to raise them in a place that feels like the US used to be 20, 30 years ago. And that place is here. For example, my kids, well, they're older now, but when they were a little younger, you know, they would ride their bikes downtown Coeur d'Alene, walk downtown Coeur d'Alene, and it's extremely safe. There are no raving homeless people, no gangs running around, you know, shooting people, none of that stuff. So I think that's a huge factor why a lot of law enforcement move here. Lower crime rates. All right, next up, cost of living. Idaho has generally a much lower cost of living compared to many other states, especially if you're coming from the big ones I just mentioned. Now, if you're coming from Arkansas, I don't know a damn thing about Arkansas, but I imagine it's pretty cheap there. But it's not Coeur d'Alene. People move here because Coeur d'Alene is beautiful and you have access to the great outdoors and a wonderful community. So it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but it is cheaper than, say, California, for example, overall. It allows a lot of these retirees to make the most out of their retirement, which is a great thing, right? You have now a fixed paycheck every month if you're retired, and the farther you can make that money spread, the better, obviously. You know, I think a lot of guys realize that come out of that law enforcement world, or don't realize that they actually do want to go watch bald eagles fly. You know, when you're up in the mix and you're working every day and you're working overtime, working graveyards and doing all that stuff, living in that world, sometimes it's hard to get out of that world. But once you retire and you spend a few months or years and you're like, man, I'm ready to go do some stuff. Idaho has a lot to do here. We've got tons of parks, beautiful outdoor things. This time of year, it's eagle watching is the big thing. So you can go down to Higgins Point in Coeur d'Alene and bring your binoculars and sit out there and watch eagles swoop up kokanee salmon from the lake. And it's totally awesome. Like, everybody loves to go out and do that. So that's a cool, fun thing to do. Obviously, you can go watch elk, moose, deer, whatever your heart desires. You can find it here and get out there in the woods and enjoy that. All right, next up, quality of life. Quality of life here, it's really hard to explain. You know, when I have clients come from out of town and visit, I like to try to take them to some of the events that we do, and we do a lot, particularly our Wednesday free coffee event for veterans and first responders, because they come out and they kind of see this sense of community here and they get a feel for it. And it's like, wow, this is pretty cool. I mean, every time I go there, I meet somebody new, and, you know, I'm generally on the younger side for retired law enforcement because I got out early. But you meet a guy that's been, 30 years with Seattle PD, and he's got some cool stories. So we sit down and we just hang out and share stories, talk about whatever. And that feeling is great because there's an immediate level of trust right there. Like, oh, I know you came from that same background. I have that immediate trust. And that is fantastic. And that's what relationships can be built on. So I think that sense of community here is particularly strong. Also, there are so many things you can get into. So, for example, if you're into church, there are over 100 churches and religious organizations in this area that you can dive into. So whatever your religion, you can probably find it here. Christianity is the predominant religion up here, but there are plenty of other options for you if that's what you're into. Any outdoor activities, sports, hunting, there are communities for all of this stuff. You might pop into North Idaho archery and hang out with the guys over there and see Big John and Austin and Jake. And, they'll get you into bow hunting and you can dive into that whole world. Or go see my buddy Adrian at the North 40 Fly Shop, and you can get into fly fishing because there's plenty of opportunities for fly fishing up here. Or maybe you like fishing on the lake, so you go down to Finn's Fur and Feathers and you meet those guys. And what I'm saying is, it's here. You just need to get out in the world a little bit and start poking around, and you'll find that thing that you like to do, and you'll find somebody else that's probably like-minded that likes to do it too. Boom, you got a friendship. There you go. Next up, outdoor recreation. you probably know already, but North Idaho is like the spot for outdoor recreation. There are 5 ski resorts within an hour and a half of Coeur d'Alene. The biggest and baddest being Schweitzer Mountain up in Sandpoint. It's not far away. And if you move to the Sandpoint area, it's really close. They've got everything up there: skiing, snowboarding, Nordic skiing, which is the cool way of saying cross-country skiing, mountain biking, things like that, hiking, of course. Idaho is 60% public land. That is crazy. So it is within a 5-minute drive from Coeur d'Alene. You could be in the Coeur d'Alene National Forest, and you could literally walk to Montana by staying in the National Forest if you were so inclined. If you're into side-by-siding, four-wheeling, Jeeps, rock crawling, that is all here too in abundance. Maybe you like human-powered stuff and you mountain bike or hike, cross-country ski. Of course, we have multiple lakes here, some giant lakes that are fantastic. So any boating stuff, fishing, that is all here as well. I'm sure I forgot some activities, but I think you're getting the hang of it, that Coeur d'Alene and North Idaho in general are phenomenal for outdoor stuff. All right, next up, retirement-friendly communities. Generally, some of these communities are for when you're a bit older, and you want a very low maintenance lifestyle. HOA kind of covers everything. You don't have to mow your grass, that stuff. Those communities are here. Also, plenty of condo opportunities. So if you're looking to retire and you don't want to shop in a tractor and all that, then that stuff is here. Also, maybe you're in your 50s and 60s and you still want to be out doing things. Great options would be to buy some land, have your shop. You can put your old Mustang in the shop, work on that when you feel like it, and get a tractor. And that is an extremely appealing lifestyle that a lot of people move here for. But we also do have the retirement communities when you're getting up there in age. And there are some good options here in Coeur d'Alene and Sandpoint where you can kind of tie into that community and then relax and not have to worry about any of that. Then you can go do your basket weaving class or whatever you're into at that point and enjoy your life. All right, next up, proximity to urban centers. So you don't move to Idaho to live in the big city generally, especially North Idaho, because that doesn't exist. But sometimes they're nice to have those urban centers nearby. So if you end up in southern Idaho, you've got Boise, obviously, which is in Idaho and is a big city and it's wonderful. I don't like high desert, and that's the landscape down there, so I didn't move that way. And it's a bit crowded. Politics are becoming a little more questionable if that's something that concerns you. But here in North Idaho, the best Idaho, in my opinion, we have Spokane, Washington, which is 30 miles away. So if you desire a larger urban center for ethnic foods, restaurants that are more high end than you would find here, it's a quick drive to get there. And you may have to fight off some homeless people to get in there, but you can still do it. And that's nice because it's so close. That may have been an insensitive remark. Sorry. So I can't say we go into Spokane very often for things, but occasionally something comes up like a specialty store, or like I said, a restaurant or comedy clubs, the Spokane Arena. There's bigger sports games over that way, concerts, things like that. So the need does arise sometimes, and it is very nice to have it that close where you can just drive over in 45 minutes and park and do your thing. So tax benefits, that's another one that comes up quite a bit. Idaho does offer some tax benefits for retirees. Social Security benefits are not taxed, and there are deductions available for pension incomes. We also have a homeowner's tax exemption here in Idaho, and there are some specifically for veterans as well. So these are good things to ask your tax professional. That is not me. I am not that guy, but I will take advantage of them if I find out about them. So in general, taxes in every state, they find a way to tax you. It's probably pretty much the same all across the board here, right? Like Washington does not have an income tax, but they'll tax you in other ways, excise taxes, property taxes. That probably makes up for that, and it's pretty much the same anyway. However, it is something to consider. Here in Idaho, we do have some good tax benefits for retirees specifically. So check into that, ask your tax professional about that and see what there's out there. All right. Last but not least, this is perhaps the most important one: strong community support. So coming from California, I worked in law enforcement there, obviously. It was ingrained in me early on that I shouldn't tell people what I do for a living. So instead of telling people that I worked for the CHP, I worked for Caltrans instead. And that's how I usually introduced myself to people that I did not know. That's an unfortunate thing. I feel like law enforcement should be supported in the community for sure. I found when I moved here to Idaho, you don't have to hide it. Obviously, I was retired at that point and I'm no longer currently in law enforcement, but you don't have to hide it at all. In fact, you'll be surprised how many people you meet. Like I said, North Idaho has more cops than anywhere else, and you see it every day. I was donating blood yesterday, and I was sitting in the waiting room after, drinking my electrolytes, whatever. And I'm talking to a guy across the room. Of course, Kootenai County deputy, retired, did 25 years. You literally cannot throw a rock in North Idaho and not hit a cop. I don't recommend doing that, of course, but it's true everywhere. I like that. If you're a bad guy, you probably don't like that. But if you're coming from our world, I find a great sense of comfort in that because, like I said before, there's an immediate level of trust when you're dealing with people that come from that same background. You understand each other, you speak the same language, and that is very important to me. So you would find here as a retired police officer that you are not alone. You can tell people what you did, and they'll be, you know what they'll say to you? Thank you for your service. That's what they'll say dang near every time. We have a wonderful law enforcement community up here as well that is greatly supported by the community, which you can see with the law enforcement memorial downtown in McEwen Park. It's beautiful. It's clean. Never graffiti on it. Nothing bad going on there. That's an indicator to me. Also, during the 4th of July parade, which is one of the bigger parades up here, you will see car after car of law enforcement and everyone cheering for them. And it's a wonderful thing. So veterans too up here, but this video is specifically for my cops out there. North Idaho is an extremely welcoming community for prior and current law enforcement. All right. Thank you guys for joining me on this video. I apologize. I'm not outside right now. It's wintertime. It's hit or miss on the weather. So I'm doing a lot of videos indoors. This video was specifically for the cops out there. If you're not a cop, maybe you got some value out of it too, because a lot of these reasons apply to everyone in reality. I was trying to highlight that I think that North Idaho is Copland, and that's not a bad thing. If you're a law-abiding citizen, then you shouldn't be concerned with that. That should probably make you feel better because it's a pretty damn safe community up here. When you're walking around, everybody you see is pretty much a retired cop, and they're probably carrying a gun and they know how to use it. So that also falls back on my theory that North Idaho is probably the safest place in the U.S. as the world slips farther and farther away from sanity. I'd rather be here than anywhere else. So thank you guys again. And remember, if you're looking to move right now or 12 months from now, it's never too soon to shoot me an email, get the conversation started. If you're coming up for a visit, give me a holler. I would love to go grab coffee. We can go cold plunge if you want. I'm always down for that. Whatever you want. We are here. Our team of former and current first responders and veterans is here to help you out, make that smooth move right here in North Idaho.